3, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2. That'll be alright.
Do you know, I don't know that I have either, which is either. Makes me think of Ivor the engine. Oh, I used to love it. Oh my goodness. I'm honestly kind of speechless.
Because I'm a knitter because it's the most amazing thing to do. It makes me feel great. It makes me relax.
I'm clapping. Do you need to check something first? Let me get out. Cake for lunch, can I? Pudding for lunch. That would have been dreadful.
What's so fun?
And maybe I should make socks for you with it.
No. You should have socks in there.
Yeah, I should, you're right.
Yes. That didn't take much persuading.
It's just lovely colours, isn't it? Hello?
No, not you. I can see the waveforms. Can you see the waveforms forming as I speak?
Yes, darling, I can. Amazing. I've got out of everything I've made, and I'm not kidding now. This has got to be my favourite.
Hello! Oh my goodness. Well, you're already viewing the wonderful changes.
You are?
Oh my goodness. But not only that, did you see that outtake at the start of the show? That should show you the wonder which is coming your way in today's Pudding Club.
What was the outtake? Was it embarrassing?
No, it wasn't embarrassing at all.
Okay.
It was you proclaiming that in all the years, this is the greatest thing I have ever baked.
Oh my word.
It is.
I have no words.
And
clearly.
I also had no words. Neil, the original baking of this cake was a disaster.
Oh gosh. Oh, let me tell you, I was incredibly stressed because the recipe was just... The basis of the recipe was absolutely fine. The quantities were just all off. You know,
badly off.
Oh, massively off.
But there was enough for me to taste.
Oh yeah, there was enough for you to taste, and what you did taste, you said, was really delicious.
Literally,
I said, right.
Never. What's so wonderful about this pudding is I had never had it before.
Do you know, I don't know that I have either, which is Ivor. Makes me think of Ivor the engine. Oh, I used to love that. No, I've never tried it either, and I don't know why.
Well, perhaps, as we're going to find out later on the show, it's because this pudding is not that old. And, you know, its history it's really quite interesting.
Yeah.
What I love, though, about its history, and you say this at the end of the Pudding Club, if you want something comforting to give you a lovely warm hug, then this is it.
Oh my goodness. And actually,
I've never seen you go at something quite so much as you've gone at this.
Well, you ate half of that. I only ate half of it because actually when we finished filming it was like 10 to 12
I meant since
or something.
then.
Oh, since then. I've had several bits since then. But no, when we actually filmed it, when I was eating it, it was about 10 to 12, so it was almost lunchtime, and I thought if I eat this whole big slice, I'm not going to want any lunch, and that's not... I can't have cake for lunch, can I? Pudding for lunch. That would have been dreadful. This thing is...
Make this. It's coming later in the show. You will not regret it.
Please make it.
Now, 86 episodes ago, we began filming in our old setting. And do you know what? This that you're seeing today, I think it all stems from this whole room of requirement journey that we've been on.
Yeah.
It stems from the conversation which we shared with you a few episodes ago where you came to me at Christmas time and said,
yeah,
how do you fancy, you know, us being in the same room again with work? Yeah. Because we hadn't been.
No.
Kay had been in one space, I've been in another. Well, we created this room of requirement, and what's gone on here through the course of this year has really made it's changed the whole feel. I've never been completely happy with the house layout.
No, and I don't know that I was really, because...
I always thought this was a wasted space.
It felt disjointed, didn't it?
It was disjointed, and also as well, I think it was cluttered.
It was cluttered, and, you know, like everybody's house, you just build up stuff, don't you?
We only spoke about this the other day. I said to Kay, my goodness, isn't stuff an absolute pain?
It is. Having stuff is terrible, and I'm always clearing things out and, you know, recycling. I like having... clear things.
Clean lines.
Yeah, and
it's not about not having stuff. It's about having the right stuff.
Yeah.
And having the right stuff in the right places.
Not having your stuff weigh you down, isn't it?
Because if you can't see the wood from the trees, then, how do you know where that lovely skein of yarn is, or that perfect book is that you need to, or some great Lego is, or, who knows what it may be. So we created this room requirement, and we started broadcasting our pop show, which we just did one on Sunday, actually. And we started broadcasting our pop show from here, and we loved it so much. And also, what we've been trying to do this year, and thank you all so much for the wonderful feedback that you've been giving us on the Pudding Club and also on New Adventures. We've really tried to push things a bit this year, push the production, and we really feel that this gives us more control, certainly on the sound. We can have much better sound here, but also it gives it more of a studio feel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's more where
it all happens.
Yeah. This is
to the nerve
This
centre.
is right where I do all my designing. My knitting chair is there. Dan's over there.
I edit everything over there and plan everything over there.
We've got some yarn here. I keep all my minis here. So this is where everything, like Dan says, this is just where everything happens, and we feel like it's got a great
vibe.
Yeah. It always feels like a very positive place to be in the house.
And it's a creative space.
Because, and also we get lots of lighting here. It's quite often really sunny. So that adds to the positive feeling of it, I think. And we've got up here, you can just see them, we've got Goffy and we've got Big Teddy.
Oh.
So they've come to join us today. So who knows who might be there next time.
And also, King Julian's over there.
A plant. Dan, look, can you see the plant?
I love the plant.
We've moved it. It's normally in a different place, but we just have to jiggle things a bit. But Dan loves that plant.
I do. Now, I want to tell you a story. And it's an interesting one, this, because it set me on a sort of reevaluation of how I put myself across as a knitter. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what led me to this point. A few weeks ago, I was sat in the car.
Oh, gosh.
On my own. I was on the school run, gone to pick up Bryony from school.
Yeah.
And I was sat in the car and I was knitting a sock. And there's a knock on the window.
On the car window.
So I'm sat in the middle of, a place where I don't know anybody. And there's no one around me. And suddenly there's a person right up at the car window knocking on the window. So I thought, maybe he's going to ask me to move, or who knows? Have I blocked?
Because it's a heavily residential area.
Yeah, schools tend to be, don't they, in areas like that. There's other houses around, so it's what you're expecting. So I wind the window down, and it was a perfectly pleasant older gentleman, and he said, "I live in that house just over there, and I see you coming here and parking. Oh, obviously you're doing the school run, and I've always noticed that you're sat there knitting. And I just wondered why, because it doesn't really fit with your image, does it? I mean, look at you and look at your big car." And I just sort of started to answer without really thinking about, hold on a minute. You've invaded my space, and you've asked me.
Who are you?
Who would do that? Would you do that?
I wouldn't do that.
If someone was sat on a bench
in
the middle of nowhere,
absolutely,
and I walk by, I'd go, "Oh my goodness!"
I'm a knitter as well. What are you knitting? That's absolutely. I welcome that.
I wouldn't knock on someone's car window.
That's like knocking on their door.
It's like someone seeing us knitting in the house.
In the house, and knocking on the door and saying, "Why are you knitting?"
But you see, the other thing that made it slightly odd as well was, if he'd been a knitter, it would have been just a tiny bit different.
A bit more understandable.
Yeah, a bit more understandable. But it was his whole sort of attitude to the situation was, "Why are you doing that?
Why are you doing that?"
And it wasn't a sort of, it wasn't a warm, friendly understanding. It was I can't understand why you're doing that. Yeah. And do you know what I naturally did? I started to try and justify why I was doing it.
It does make you feel, I would feel like that as well.
Yeah, so I started to justify it, and I said, I had a really bad car accident a few years ago, and my wife taught me to knit, and it really helps me relax. And then also I found myself bringing blooming cancer into it as well. And after...
Yeah, and it's like you feel like you've got to explain yourself to a complete stranger.
I came away from the situation and I just thought, hold on a minute. It made me reevaluate everything. Because when someone walks up to me and says, why are you a knitter? I am no longer going to say it's because I had a bad car accident, because I'm a knitter because it's the most amazing thing to do. It makes me feel great. It makes me relax. None of these things have got anything to do with the fact that I had a car accident.
No.
Yes, that might be what caused me to do it.
But if you hadn't enjoyed it, you wouldn't have carried on.
Exactly. And I think it's really important, we're so keen, aren't we, on promoting knitting. It's the lifestyle, which, goes along with it. Yeah. That as soon as someone thinks, oh, well, he does it because of that, that then gives the non-knitter a reason not to engage with the knitting. Because why do I knit? Because it's cool. It's as simple as that. And from now on, that's what I'm going to say. Yeah. Also, as well, it just made me think, I have to move on. When you've had an illness like cancer, whilst you want to move on from it,
it's really hard.
It's really difficult. But I just feel like that can't come into conversation anymore.
I think we have moved on an awful lot.
We absolutely have. But why did I find myself
I know.
using cancer as a justification for knitting?
But don't you just find that whole situation a bit strange? I mean, who would do that? Who would? And then I said, gosh, he's been watching you, and it's every day he must have been watching you, and I find that's
a bit weird.
Really unsettling. How do you know that he wasn't going to say, well, that's just, get aggressive about it and...
Well, you never know. Unfortunately...
You're a bloke, you shouldn't be doing that. That's kind of what it felt like.
You just never know, do you, in the world? Unfortunately, the world's changed a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Very recently it's changed a lot, and, you don't know how anyone's going to react. But I think it was an opportunity missed from me, because what I should have done was... Because, coming back to that point that we want to encourage other people to try what we're doing, I should not have said anything about a car accident. I should not have said anything about cancer. I should have gone, I knit because it's amazing and you should try it. Also, as well, it makes you think, hold on a minute, why does it look weird that I'm knitting? Why is that weird?
Well, I don't find it weird at all, obviously. I don't find it weird because it's not. Also, it isn't weird. It's not weird.
How dare anyone come and say to you, look at you. Why are you doing that?
Yeah, it's incredibly offensive, isn't it, to do that?
When you break it down, it really is offensive.
It really is offensive. And, what gave him the right to feel like he could do that?
It shines a light, I think, on just the vibe that's in the world at the moment. Because I can't see that happening 10 years ago.
No.
And it certainly wouldn't have happened 20 years ago.
No.
And I just think we've got to the point where, we're not going to dwell on this at all because that's for our political show.
Which
we're definitely not starting.
No.
But, it's such a shame that, people now feel empowered enough to go and challenge someone like that.
Yeah, I think social media's got probably 100% to do with it.
Yes.
Hasn't it? Because it's very easy, isn't it, to comment about someone's life on social media.
You can also speak without repercussions and thought.
Yes, which happens an awful lot.
A huge amount of the time.
And I think that must filter into your general way of thinking. Of seeing something going on in someone else's life.
If you're so used to doing it here,
and thinking that you can just go up to them and question them about something that they're doing, and you shouldn't have to justify your life to complete strangers.
No.
Really.
No. But, like I said a moment ago, I am now prepared.
It made for a lot of interesting thought, didn't it? It's very thought-provoking thing to happen.
Because I naturally have, in the past, spoken about my car accident as to the reason why I knit. Because that is... that's the root reason.
That's the trigger. But
I wouldn't have carried on, like Kay said, had I not loved it.
No.
So why do I knit? Because it's the business, I love it, and you should do it too.
You all do it. Yay!
Yeah, no, I wasn't meaning you.
You, not you.
Although
we know you do.
You, husband.
Yes.
Yes, you know who you are. You should try it.
Yes.
Trust me. Anyone who caught the second episode in Return to the Centre of the Yoke, which came out on Tuesday this week, will know I made an absolute embarrassment of myself with regards to yarn weights. Yes, we've had 2 rounds of Name That Yarn, and I thought I was getting better at this. But honestly, Kay, I embarrassed myself.
Did you?
Yes. I had no clue what I was talking about.
What were you talking about?
I was talking about yarn weights.
Oh, right.
I was talking about fingering weight and thicker yarns.
Oh.
And that literally...
And thicker yarns.
That literally is what it came down to. You know what that means? It's time for round 3 of Name That Yarn.
Okay.
What do you have for me today, young lady?
So here, shall I show you the first one?
Show the people at home.
So this is the first one.
It looks very nice.
It looks very nice, doesn't it?
This doesn't look like a yarn I've seen a lot of.
No.
Right.
I have swatched with this yarn and really liked it, but I haven't
soft.
knit anything with it. It's very soft.
Oh my goodness.
It's a lovely yarn, actually. And
I'm going to say sport.
Well, that's a really good guess, actually, because I think it would knit to a sport
She's
gauge.
being kind.
But it's actually DK.
Oh, crumbs. I wasn't going to say DK.
No, I understand. I'm going to get the label because I hid it. I understand why you've said that, because I do think it looks, on the face of it, like a sport weight.
Oh my goodness. It's drops.
It's drops. It's drops.
Well, go to the foot of our stairs.
It's just there.
Yes.
It's drops cotton merino.
Oh.
It's lovely yarn. So it's 50% wool, 50% cotton. DK weight, suggest 4mm needles. In each 50-gram balls, you get 110 metres. That's 220 metres for 100 grams, which is 240 yards. So that is a DK weight, isn't it?
So
Looking at it, I do think it would knit to a sport. I got a few colours in this and I can't remember why now, but I did swatch with it and it's lovely.
Right.
It's because it's got cotton in, you can see, I don't know if it's going to show, but the cotton shows as a lighter colour.
Right.
Because it won't take the dye in the same way.
It looks great.
Because it's not a animal fibre. So it doesn't dye like the other does. So you get this lovely heathered look. And I think this would make the most fantastic blanket, especially baby blankets. Yeah. Or any blanket, really. I think it would make great garments as well for summer, maybe, with that cotton content. But it's lovely stuff, and I do want to do a blanket in that at some point, I think. So I really want to make something with that.
Yarn number 1, I get nothing. I got it wrong.
Nothing for you.
Nothing from you. Next.
So this is the second one. The colours are looking great. I hope you know, with this light in here, I think everything looks really lovely. So that's the yarn.
So yarn number 2, DK.
It's not DK,
Oh,
no. And actually, it's classed as an Aran.
Oh!
But I don't think it looks as thick as an Aran myself. It's West Yorkshire Spinners Croft. And it's a Shetland tweed. So it's 100% Shetland wool. And when I first saw this, I thought, oh, I'm not going to like that. It's going to be scratchy. And you can feel it. It's definitely a bit rustic, isn't it?
Yes.
But for a hat, I think it would be fine.
Yeah, it would.
I wouldn't like a garment in this, I don't think. It's just a bit too prickly for me.
Yeah.
But it actually says on it that it's Aran weight, and you get 182 yards for 100 grams. 182 yards. I suppose that is less, isn't it, than worsted weight. It will I'm sure it would knit to an Aran gauge, but to me it looks more like a worsted weight.
Right. It's lovely yarn.
Very, very lovely stuff.
Goodness me.
Very lovely.
Come on, I need to get a point here.
Right, so
yarn number 2, nothing.
The last one I've left the label on because I don't want to take the label off.
That's all right.
It's a special yarn and I don't want to detach it. So don't look at I'm going to hold the label.
Where's fingering?
Oh, let me show you.
It's fingering.
Let me show you. Look.
Yarn number 3 is fingering weight.
Oh.
Please tell me I'm right.
You are correct.
Thank goodness. I mean, that was kind.
1 out of 3.
Isn't bad.
Yeah, it's a fingering weight skein.
It's bad. It's terrible.
I've had this skein for a good few years.
It's gorgeous.
And it is. And I should absolutely knit with it. I tend to hoard special skeins, as I think, we all tend to, don't we? And this was a gift from a friend, Sally. She sent me this years ago. And I've just never been able to bring myself to knit with it. It's Marigold Jen. And the colourway is called Silver Lining. And it's a 75 BFL, 25% nylon.
It's so great for socks then.
Brilliant for socks. So I really should knit with this, and I really want to knit. I'm going to knit with it, I am. And maybe I should make socks for you with it.
No. You should have socks in there.
Yeah, I should, you're right.
Yes, that didn't take much persuading.
It's just lovely colours, isn't it? It's obviously a variegated. And I think maybe the thing that stopped me using it is I'm hoping it doesn't pool. I've no idea if it's going to pool. But I'll be able to tell, you know, sort of fairly straight away if it's going to pool. Fingers crossed it won't, because I think it's just fun colours, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's just lovely. So I should absolutely knit with this because it's a special skein and I should have some socks in it, shouldn't I?
Yes. It is as simple as that.
Yes.
Look, I told you.
1 out of 3.
My skills
absolutely
have
terrible.
dropped. I had done a certain amount of work in the last 2 rounds.
Zero
I've been
work.
feeling
He's done nothing.
But for this, I hadn't. You're right. In the other rounds, though, you know, and this is it. I think with your yarn weights, I think that you know you need to be ready at the drop of a hat.
Yes.
That's enough yarn. We want to see what yarn is made into. So we need to find out for the first time in our room of requirement.
Yes.
Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
Oh, how exciting. The first thing is my penguono.
Well,
I've been doing some work on it. Now, it's getting a little unwieldy and I'm really not that far in. So my main concern at the moment is that it's going to become really big to work on.
could you please tell everyone at home what Bryony said when she saw that?
Oh, this was hilarious. I got it laid out on the carpet, so I just you like to do that, don't you, just to see where you're up to. And Bryony came over and looked at it and she went, "What's that?" I said, "It's my penguono. You remember I spoke about it? I said, it's this cardigan that I'm knitting." And she looked at it and she went, "That looks exactly like something that Xenophilius Lovegood would wear on Harry Potter." And I said, "You know what? You're absolutely right." And I said, "That just makes me want to wear it even more." And she said it in a very nice way, you know, like he would totally wear that. And she's dead right. So when I wear this, I'm going to feel like Xenophilius Lovegood. Right, here we go. Look. So on this side where I was before, I was working on this little side panel. So I finished that. You can see it's in this, I've added this kind of little sort of neon-y speckly yarn. So that was finished. Then I moved over to the other side and did the welts on the other side. And I did them in these sort of beachy colours, so blue and a sort of sandy colour. Lovely, and I think they look really nice. And then I did the same little panel on the other side, but this time I went kind of neon, can you see? And that has done a slight pooling thing, but I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to have to live with this, aren't I? Oh, it's one of those things, but I think it looks okay. So I did that one, and that yarn was from, is it Siobhan's Crafts?
Yeah.
And I picked that up at a Spring Into Wool, not this year, last year. It's a 50-gram ball. I think it was a unicorn colourway. And I thought I'm going to pop that in just for a little added bit of neon. And then you do this little panel here, which is worked in the opposite direction. I did this one, and then you cast on just a few stitches, and then you go this way down. So it's like you're doing an applied edging on a shawl, where you knit 2 together, you know, 1 stitch from this and 1 stitch from this, so that you're working in the opposite direction. So it's just a little panel of garter stitch going down, and I added in a pale pink yarn to this because I thought that was pretty. And now I picked up stitches along the edge of that panel, and now I'm working effectively another one of these panels here. And then I think I increase and add some stitches for a bigger panel. I'm literally just reading the pattern and doing what I'm told to do. I'm not trying to think too much about it because the construction is just crazy, and I think it's a situation where you've just got to trust the pattern, and I completely trust the pattern. You know, it's very well written, easy to follow. I'm just doing a section, crossing it off, going on to the next section, and it's working out brilliantly well. So for this one, I'm adding in it's like a sagey green. This is from Lovely Kelly. She dyed this up for me recently, and I thought that will work really nicely in my penguono because I just fancied putting in a bit of green. So I'm now doing another one of these little panels here, and then, like I said, I think I increase and just build it up from there, and then I'll go back to the other side, I'm presuming, at some point, and do the same thing on the other side. I'm literally just doing a little panel and then thinking, what yarn do I want to add in next? I did order, it should come today actually, just another couple of colours of my main sort of yarn that I'm using, which is the King Cole Merino Blend DK, and it's the Aran colourway. I'm
using that in the Cascade.
You are, yeah, yes. You're using the truffle colour.
It's very nice.
And I've just fancied having another couple of colours of this. So instead of using the cream, I'll use a different colour, held double again with fingering weight. So I just ordered 3 colours that are pale colours, but really nice. There was a pink, like a sagey green, and a lilac. And I thought that might be nice just to add in a different colour for the backgroundy sort of colour instead of the cream in certain sections. I did swap out my needles actually. I was using these ones, which are Knit Pick Sunstruck, which are effectively just like Knit Pro Symphonies, Harmonies. They're really exactly the same, it's just that the wood is a pale colour. But I was finding the cable quite thick, and because of the nature of this sort of garment, you're constantly moving it around, and I was finding the thick cable to be a bit of a bind, and I wasn't, this wood is a very hard wood, it's birch I believe, and that again I was just finding a bit hard on my hands. So I ordered a higher bamboo, just a fixed circular, so that's what I'm using now, and it's so much better. The cable is so much thinner and more flexible. So, you know, when you sort of, for example, you're working this row and then you turn and, you know, your cable is moving, I'm just finding it a lot easier to negotiate and not as sort of weighing me down. They're not quite as pointy as well, which I appreciate, because they don't need to be pointy for this. Perfectly lovely tips, but not as sharp, I was finding, as the other wooden ones. I think if you were just working on this and didn't have other things on the go, I actually do think it would be a quick project. I think just the nature of it, where you are, you know, you're constantly changing all the time. It's very engaging and really enjoyable to do. So imagine this is on my back.
The other way up?
No, this way up, because these are the side panels that come round.
Oh, and the arms are going to then attach?
Up here somewhere,
right.
I think.
Right.
Well, my arms are here, so I'm presuming it'll attach here. Then it'll look like that on the back.
And then does something attach to the bottom?
Yeah, you pick up stitches all the way around.
Yeah. And
knit down. It's at that point where I think I'll be able to lengthen it if I want it longer.
That's cool.
But yeah, so
it's certainly fun.
It's definitely fun. I do think it's going to be quite a heavy garment, because feels quite heavy now.
Well, winter.
It definitely won't be like a summer pyjama cardigan, but that's fine, isn't it? So it's the type of thing that I will definitely get wet.
I like that. The contrast between those.
Yeah, I know. It's really nice, isn't it?
I like the colour contrast, and I also like the fact that one's going one way and one's going the other.
Yeah, I like that. And I also like the reverse side of that. And I kind of wish, because you can see all the slip stitch chains.
Yeah. It's cool.
And I kind of wish that was the front. Because can you see all the sort of chains going down? I'm sure at some point there might be some of those on the front. Yeah, so really enjoying it, getting on with it, and just it's a great project. Yeah, I know, clanking needles. But can you see all this? The only thing I will say is, if you're going to knit it, be prepared for lots of changing of yarns, obviously. Lots of putting stitches on hold, and lots of ends to weave in. If you don't mind any of that, then I would say definitely give it a go. Dan Jones, what's on your needles? It feels very weird to be saying that in here for some reason.
Why is that?
It's just everything, it just feels a bit different.
First of all, I think you need to be aware that I've now risen to the heady heights of using 2
Oh gosh, he drives me mad.
row count.
He drives me mad with his row counters, which both of them you're probably using the wrong way as well, so we won't go into that again.
Well, it's the right way for me.
Okay.
That's how long my look. That's how long my other sock is. 27.
Right.
It's
27 what?
It's 127.
Shall I get a blocker while you talk about it?
Yes. Please do.
I can just reach behind and get a blocker. How cool is that?
I'm doing the lovely twisted 2x2 ribbing on the Thomasina socks.
Correct.
And it is my second sock, and it's an absolute wonder, to be honest, because I think it's the first time ever in the history of the show where the first time I showed you these, I was partway down the first sock. The second time I showed you these, I just turned the heel. Mm-hmm. The third time I've shown you these, I finished one sock and I'm on to the next sock. So that may not be fast for many of you, but for me, it's lightning. And what I've particularly enjoyed about this sock is
lovely.
The fact that it's kept me interested the whole way through. And, you know, you wouldn't think necessarily that it would have done, would you? Because you'd look at it and you think, oh, well, you know, it's a lovely looking sock. But the beauty of the design is there's enough going on, so at no point do I get bored. And normally I'll get partway down a leg or I'll get partway down a foot and I'll get so bored with knitting of it that I'll just not do it. And, you know, that's why it's taken me in the past, took me an awful long time to knit pairs of socks, because I just find them so tedious. With this one, I have not at one point. I'm actually enjoying knitting it.
Gosh, there's something.
Now, the yarn's great, and I have knit a pair of socks with Opal before. It did not feel like this one feels. This feels bouncy and soft, and it's just a nice...
Is there any chance of having it's inside? The label's inside?
Yeah, and I don't put them inside.
No, I think I did that so that you didn't lose it. It's the Claude Monet range, and it's number 9684.
And it's beautiful. It's so different to the other one that I knit with because there's just so much more bounce. The last time I knit with Opal, it was like knitting with string. It was really frustrating. Whereas this one isn't. And, you know, it fits in with, you know, the whole thing last year with, you know, the fact that it's so hit and miss. So, you know, a privilege, and I'm enjoying every moment of knitting with this skein of Opal. Is this an older skein?
No, it's
right.
New.
Interesting.
It's one of their new ranges that came out in December, I think, wasn't it? We do have an issue still with the tension on your heel.
Yeah, well, I just didn't concentrate enough.
It's really loose.
Yeah.
So on this one, you've really got to be aware of that. There's a chance it'll wear through quicker than it should.
I think what it comes down to is I need to stop thinking about the gauge, the tension. I need to just knit.
Yeah, but
because if you cast your mind back, and I still in my head, I still say this when I get to a heel flap. The first time I started knitting heel flaps, they were too tight.
It's not so much the flap; it's the turn.
Yes, but it was too tight.
Yeah, on the flap was too tight.
That's right.
The turn's never been too tight.
And now, what I've clearly done is I'm still thinking instinctively. I'm still thinking, right? Just relax. Just
You're overcompensating.
I am. It was years ago that I had that problem, so I think I just need to stop compensating at all and just knit through it at an even gauge.
Yeah.
And then perhaps we'll get a nice, even, lovely sock. On the last pair, a similar problem happened. You know, I had an issue with the heel flap and I addressed it on the second one. And the frustration then is you've got one with one and one without.
It's fine, I wear them anyway.
Well, you could just wear one of these and one of those. Like Bryony did the other day.
Oh, it's so funny. She came downstairs the other day. She been upstairs, got dressed, came downstairs, and I looked at her feet and I said, "Did you look at your feet when you put your socks on this morning?" And she looked down and then she just started laughing, and she always wears hand knitted socks, and she said, "Oh, I just picked two up from the pile." That gives an indication of what she does with her hand knit socks. She just basically chucks them in a pile in her bedroom, and she'd got odd socks on. Totally different. And then she's like, "Oh well, whatever, I'm not bothered." And then actually the next day she did the same thing. She went and got two different socks and she said, "Oh, I really like it, I'm going to wear odd socks now." So, and there's
nothing wrong with wearing odd socks.
Well, you know, of course you can do that if you want to do that. You wear odd socks.
And how cool that will be for the rest of your life, because for me it's always been a problem. If I've gone through one of the socks, both the socks go in the bin. But in this situation, it's ideal.
Yeah.
Hand knit socks. One goes through, bin that one. Just pair it up with another.
Yeah, pair it up with another one. Absolutely, yeah. So you're knitting these on a 2.75, aren't you?
I don't know.
Yeah, you are. 2.75 millimetre.
How should I?
Well, you're supposed to be learning. It's 2.75, I can tell by looking at them.
I'm knitting these on a 2.75 millimetre.
Excellent.
There we go.
And your gauge for the actual sock is lovely. I would say it's probably about 8 stitches to the inch looking at it, which I think is perfectly fine for a sock. Because you are generally a tight knitter, so it works for you. And it's 64 stitches.
Yeah. So there it is. Lovely sock. Who knows how fast this one... Because I just cast this on the other day. I'm halfway through the ribbing, and I've extended it a little bit because I've been just cutting corners on previous socks. My leg has been too short, so I've done a proper length leg. So did 20 rows rib, 40 rows leg, and then that's right.
Yeah,
20 rows rib, 40 rows leg.
That's a good length. It's a good length, I think, that.
And then 60 rows, no more than that, 66 rows on the foot.
The way that I work out how many rows I do for my own socks and Bryony's, we've got about the same size feet, is after the gusset decreases, I do 50 rounds before the toe. And you've got to bear in mind that the gusset decreases are actually shorter than a standard gusset decrease because it's a square heel turn, but that's my sort of maths. So I counted these, and because your row gauge is a little bit bigger, we just did a few less, didn't we? And I've tried it on, it fits great.
Cool. Previously, because of my big hands, I've had issues with the umbrella toe a little bit.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I just found it a little bit tricky to knit.
Oh, you could have done a different one.
Well, it was my hand.
But if it's awkward for you, then I can give you a different one. It's not now. What, have your hands shrunk?
No, I've practiced it.
Oh, right, okay.
So the fact that I've done it a bit, you get that dexterity down a little bit.
There's more decreases going on, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Right.
I just found it a little bit trickier to knit. Well, I'm not anymore, which is cool.
Oh, well,
and I
that's
think,
good.
That is one of the things which I think so many people do and back away from. They try something once, it doesn't work great, so they never do it again. Well, don't do that.
There's always an alternative, isn't there?
Well, no. There is always an alternative if you really can't do it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you're finding something a struggle, there's always another way of doing it.
Yes, there is. But if I'd adopted that approach, then I wouldn't be doing this toe, which fits you perfectly.
Right. It does. That's true.
It's really difficult because everybody is different. And I was listening to something the other day, and they were talking about it was an American football thing. Because I've been listening to the NFL draft, and listening to these guys talking, and they were saying that they'd have two types of coaching. One of the coaches said, just focus on the things you do well and do them better than everybody else. And the other one said they have a pyramid. And they have a pyramid of things, and the thing that you're best at goes at the top, and the things that you're not so good at then spread out down into the pyramid below. Because inevitably you're going to be brilliant at fewer things than you are things that you're not so good at. And his coaches always said to him, spend the most time working on the bits at the bottom of the pyramid and the least amount of time spending on the things at the top of the pyramid, and then you will naturally become better at all skills. And I thought that was brilliant, and I think that is definitely how I approach learning. Yes, you do the things that you enjoy as often as you can, but if you want to get better at something, spend time doing the things at the bottom of the pyramid, and then you get way better at the things.
You've got a stronger base.
Yeah, a bigger engine size, so you do the things at the top of the pyramid even better. So that's the reason why I persevered with this, and I've probably only done it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
But now I feel confident with it, and I like it, and it fits you well.
It does.
So it's the right one to do.
Have you ever played American football?
Yeah.
What position would you play if you played sort of now?
Oh, crumbs.
What would you be? Because you're not...
I'd probably be a receiver.
You're not big like that, are you?
No, well, they bulk up.
Right.
I mean,
you're very tall, so and you're fast. So what would you be then?
Well, I'd be a wide receiver, or I might get away with being a tight end because I'm relatively strong.
Is that the name of a position?
Yeah, tight end. Yeah. And, you know, I've got a certain amount of... I think I can block people.
Right.
I'm quite...
You're quite strong in your art, in this bit of your arms.
Yeah,
are very
because of the drumming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd probably be a tight end. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed about the bad press surrounding Daniel Jones's drafting by the New York Giants.
Oh, he's gone to the Giants.
Yeah.
Right, you hadn't told me
And I'm a little bit concerned that the name Daniel Jones is going to be associated with...
What's wrong with the Giants?
There's nothing wrong with the Giants.
Right.
The press have decided that Daniel Jones wasn't good enough to be drafted where he was drafted.
Right.
And so the general feeling, please do, if you live in New York and you support the Giants, comment, you know, in the shed below. I'd love to know, you know, what you think, because the general consensus seems to be he's going to be a bit of a bust.
What's that mean?
That means he's not going to do very well.
Oh, right.
And, you know, whilst last time I was concerned about, you know, someone doing really well and the name being associated with a successful quarterback,
Now you worry
I'm actually more
opposite.
concerned the name Daniel Jones will be associated with a failure.
Oh, dear.
Don't fail! Come on!
Oh, no.
All hail Daniel Jones.
Yes.
What else is on your needles?
Well, I'm also knitting a sock, and I also have one completed.
Look at you go.
We're like twinsies.
They look great.
In fact, we're at the same point virtually. So these are the Shorty socks that I'm knitting for Dan, and I've got one completed. They look ridiculous because they're...
Thanks. So I don't look like I'm a knitter, and I've got ridiculous feet.
Well, you have, haven't you, really? So just a little short leg, because you love your Shorty socks, don't you?
Very much so.
And you wear them a lot. I'm always washing them, so I know you must wear them a lot. So I thought, let's knit him another pair. And I need to knit a few pairs, to be honest. I think the next couple of pairs I knit you will be Shorty ones as well, because we're coming into the warmer months now, aren't we?
Yes.
So I just did 15 rows for the rib and then 25 rounds for the leg, and then just went into the normal formula that I have for the rest of the sock. So 72 stitches. And for Shorty socks, I knit them for Dan on 2.25s. Normally, for a usual sock, I use 2.5mm, just because it gives a slightly bigger sock, because his feet are very wide as well. Because of the short leg, you find that having the extra suckiness is better, isn't it?
Yeah.
They don't drop down as much.
No.
So,
What I tend to find with the Shorty socks is that the first ones that you knit me, they're fine.
yeah, they're 2.5mm.
Yeah, they're fine for one wear, but then
They get baggy.
the whole sock becomes baggy. And on a Shorty sock, that creates a problem and it starts to come off.
Yeah.
Whereas on the bigger socks, just don't get that problem.
Right.
You know.
I mean, I can knit all your socks on 2.25 if you prefer. If you think like a normal sock would be better.
Well, not on a big size.
Oh, right.
The big sizes are fine.
Right, okay. Normal sort of formula after that, but the heel I did in Nicole C. Mendez in her soft sock. And she dyed me up this skein for me to use for heels and toes. And I just love it. It's just this pale grey, gorgeous. It goes with everything, doesn't it? I find if you're looking for a neutral that goes with everything for socks, pale grey is a winner, I think. I don't think there's anything it wouldn't go with. So I keep this skein for heels and toes. So did a heel flap, heel turn, and then just this enormously long leg, really. Dan's foot is 12.5 inches long. So this is generally, I'd do it to about 12.25 inches so that you've got that bit of negative ease. I don't do it a lot shorter because his feet are wide as well. It stretches a lot that way, so that inevitably brings the sort of length down a bit. Yeah, that's one sock all finished, and I use the umbrella toe as well for yours because that fits you really well, doesn't it? I mean, it fits us all really well, and the feedback that I've had generally from people about the umbrella toe is that I haven't had anybody yet who's sort of fed back to me who said it doesn't fit them well, which is brilliant, you know, from my point of view, that it covers a broad spectrum of shapes of feet, and I think that's great. You know, it's very satisfying as something I've designed. And I love this yarn. It's very bold, isn't it? Just with that kind of two stripe thing going on. It's very bold. But I really love it. It's Bergère de France Gumi 50. And this one is the Imprim Jaune. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry, I can't do French at all, but it's that cutaway. And I had this much left of the first 50 gram ball. There's one of my hairs on there, as there is with everything in the house. Which, what's that? I bet there's about 10, 15 grams maybe there, which would be about right for a short sock, because I didn't use it for the heel and turn, and that, I reckon that's about 7 grams-ish, maybe 5-7 grams for the heel flap and turn. So I've cast on the second one. I've done the ribbon and I'm just into the leg now. Very lovely yarn. I was a bit funny about this yarn when I cast on the first one, if you remember. I wasn't sure whether I liked it because it is a bit rustic feeling, but actually I really love it now. Now I've knit that whole sock and I'm knitting the second one. There's something very satisfying about a yarn that feels quite woolly and natural like. I mean, I know it is a superwash, but it just has that really nice woolly feel and I really love that. And I do love these colours, they're very vivid. You know, that's the citrusy sort of chartreusey colour that I'm just coming up to now, and it's just lovely. I think this colour will suit you, which sounds stupid for a pair of socks, doesn't it? I mean, how can you say that pair of socks will suit you because it's so far away from your face? But I do think these greeny colours do go with your hair.
Yeah, I mean, I am worryingly into not matching but coordination.
Oh, he does, yeah.
And I've been particularly happy with the fact that we managed to find. Do you remember? Look, he's here.
Oh gosh!
Look, do you remember this?
This is amazing.
These were my favourite shorts, and I had them for years. I must have worn them for crumbs. We worked it out. It was about 10 years.
It's a long time.
They were just great, and then about 12 months ago,
more than that,
18 months ago, they split. And so, I was really sad because, they were just my favourite shorts, but Kate brilliantly turned them into a bag for me, which has just been marvellous. So it's like they're still with me. So we went on the hunt for other shorts, and it was really difficult. It got 2 or 3 pairs from 2 or 3 different places, and they were just too heavy. It's really tricky on my scarf because, the weight then pulls and it rubs on scarf, and it's a pain.
Yeah.
These were brilliant because they were light. So we're in a supermarket the other day, and they're on the shelf, nearly identical. They're just a little bit darker, but actually...
But I think this is faded so much because it's been washed so much.
Perhaps it will get to that point.
I do think that's what they were like originally.
Well,
I couldn't believe it,
couldn't believe it. Put my shorts on the other day, put on a pair of my shorty socks, and they matched. And I was so happy because the other shorts that I've had haven't matched my socks, and those will absolutely match khaki.
Go with you. It's camo, isn't it? Really?
Camo. Yes. Sorry. It'll work perfectly. So I'm very happy with that. I've always believed that socks should match something in what you're wearing.
Right.
Belt and shoes.
I never think that.
Socks and something above.
Right.
Then
I very rarely wear belts, although I have wore a belt recently with a new pair of jeans I bought. Jeans are a thing, aren't they? How difficult is it to find for women in particular, I think, how difficult is it to find a pair of jeans that fit well? This was a task that I found impossible. I was having an issue. Really, it's only in recent years. Do you know where they've started to put a lot of the lycra into jeans, so that it's more like a jegging than a jean, but they're called jeans, but they're just adding more and more elastic to them, and everything's skinny, everything's drain pipe skinny, and not everybody wants to wear skinny jeans. I mean, I wear leggings, like everybody does, but I wanted a really good pair of jeans, that felt well made and looked good and wasn't this kind of leggingy sort of material, and I did find a pair, and they're really nice, aren't they?
Yes.
And I got them from Fat Face,
which is the same shop that I got a pair of my shorts from.
That's the shop, yeah.
Yes.
I got them from Fat Face, and they were brilliant. And I went in and I picked up 2 sizes because inevitably, I think sizes can either be very big or very small for the same size. I don't know what's gone on with sizes as well lately, but they seem to be vastly different. So anyway, I took these 2 pairs in thinking the bigger size would fit, and I put the bigger size on and they were too big. So I put on the smaller size and they fit great, but they are a bit big on the waist. That's the issue I'm finding, that they fall down. All the jeans that I've had, they just fall down, don't they?
Yeah.
These ones that aren't a very substantial material, they're just big on my waist, and they just gradually during the day they slide down like this. So I've got a belt, and I wear a belt with these jeans, and they're perfect. So there we go. That's Dan's socks that I'm working on.
I love them. Hold on a minute. I was still looking.
Oh, right, sorry. Hopefully it won't take me long to knit the second one now. Second socks I tend to knit quicker than first socks because I just want to get the pair done. I tend to linger a bit with the first sock, but second socks tend to go a bit quicker.
I'm absolutely loving the look of these. I think these are going to be...
Yeah, and Sarah, Dr. Sarah, has knit her husband a pair in this exact yarn, and she said they wear really well.
Right.
So...
Interesting that there's such a big crease down the side.
That's my magic loop.
I know, isn't that funny? I've never noticed that before on socks. Is that the yarn?
No. It's just the way I work magic loop. It's because I'm slightly tighter on the stitches either side of your magic loop, but it blocks out.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean, I'm absolutely certain. It's just funny that I've never noticed that before. We've been doing this a while, and I've been holding these socks up.
I've looked at block socks before, maybe.
Right. So all socks, whenever you do them, always have that.
Mine do, and it depends on how you knit, I suppose. But I usually get a magic loop crease down the side. I don't know if that's...
And is that because you're pulling tighter to make sure you don't get ladders?
Yeah, probably.
Right.
Yeah, but I'd rather have it... Because once you block it, I never notice anything.
No.
But I'd rather have it just a smidge tighter on those stitches here.
Because there's a high chance that they're going to be the opposite.
Ladder.
Yeah. But I know a lot of people have that trouble with that, don't
I mean, if you just pull it slightly, once it's blocked like that, you don't notice anything.
Well, I've never noticed it before until I saw that.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So there we go.
What else is on my needles? Well, it's very exciting because it's a brand new cotton, actually. You've not seen this before.
Oh, I haven't really seen it that much, actually.
It's a brand new Clayoquot hat.
Oh, it's lovely.
And yeah, the colours are great. It is deliberately all these blues because I'm knitting it for Bryony, and she really likes blue, and really like the contrast in there, the white contrast, because I think it makes the blue pop all the more. I think it would look... The blues pop more, don't they, because of the white being there.
Yeah.
And the challenge I found with the first one that I knit, I don't know if you recall, was the fact that certain stitches on this section were disappearing, and they still are. It's definitely better, but I now know what I think the problem is. It's the yarn that I join. So in this case, it was the white yarn. When I join that white contrast yarn, or whatever contrast yarn you're using when you knit this pattern, you're looping it around, you're starting off knitting, and there's no immediate tension to it. So I think that I've traced back, because I did have a look, I analysed it really closely, and I've traced back that the blue here, which is in this pattern up here,
the dark blue.
It's within the fabric of the hat, so you've sort of developed the tension of the project. The white then suddenly gets introduced, and as far as I'm aware, when you're introducing a yarn, you're looping it over and knitting, it's impossible to do it anything other than loose. Do you know what I mean?
The first stitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then when you weave that end in,
that fixes that. But if you... I seem to have traced it back, looking around, that's where the looseness begins, and it's difficult to...
It shouldn't affect your gauge. A couple of stitches maybe, but it shouldn't then affect it after that.
Well, it's funny then, because I can't work out why the white stitch is...
It jumps out more
jumping out, and the blue stitch isn't.
Yeah.
It's definitely... I'm convinced it's something to do with the fact that I've been knitting with the blue stitch already. Because if you look here, it looks okay.
Yeah,
the two stitches are there and they're fine.
Well, it does. The dark blue is more pronounced. It's just because the contrast is not as high. It's because it's a high contrast. I think you're noticing it more.
Right. But I mean, if you look, the white seems big.
It does.
I mean, it does seem much fatter, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it was the same on the other one.
Yeah, it was.
And it's the yarn that's been introduced. I've got to tension that contrast yarn a little bit more once it's been introduced.
It doesn't look bad though.
No, it doesn't look bad.
Actually,
but I want it to look even.
I think the white standing out like that looks really cool. I mean, I think it looks great. Look at that. I love the blues, and it's really lovely. Bryony's going to love this.
Now, what I've also the pattern's really good because there are some sizing things there. It is possible, to knit a small, a medium, a large. I even think it goes down smaller than that. But what I've done is I've sort of blended together, because the cast-on size fit Bryony, because we did this cast-on size for the other one, but it was too long. So I've done the cast-on size, but I've adjusted the colour work.
Right, to be a little bit shorter.
That adjustment could continue as I knit through the hat, which I think is quite cool. I think that makes it different to an awful lot of other colour work hats, because that one, for example, you couldn't really adjust the colour work on the Silver Dream hat because, it's running all the way up. Whereas this, because it's just that,
you can do,
essentially boring colour work.
You can do fewer rows of those, can't you?
Fewer, or if you think, actually, maybe a couple more, you could extend it. And I think it's quite a clever design, actually.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to really sort of gauge it as we go. And, if it needs more, add a few more, cut it short a bit. The only thing that's important is making sure that these tail end bits are the same on the bottom and the top, so it's even. Here are the lovely yarns. It is my favourite. It's Drops Charisma.
Drops Charisma.
I love everything about this yarn. I love the fact that you can spit splice it. I love the fact that it feels really nice. It's got a slight prickle, but not too much. It knits up really well.
And it is a superwash, but we do find we can spit splice it.
Yeah, it totally works, which is just wonderful.
Can't do that often with superwash.
No, I mean, I couldn't really recommend this yarn anymore. And, I've used it loads now, and I've never really found anything that frustrates me about it. Sometimes I get annoyed because of the way I pull things. Well, I don't pull things quite so much anymore, but because of the way that I knit, sometimes things develop a real halo. Well, this is fine.
No, it's no more than it is in the ball.
Yeah.
It's got a bit of a fuzzy halo, but that's not. I think that's nice. It's not anything that doesn't look like it shouldn't be like that.
It feels to me like a really sort of robust yarn that's going to wear well and, just be really good for what it's going to be, which is, a hat that's going to be worn by a teenager. So it's going to get some wear. What else is on your needles?
Well, I've got some colour work as well. So this is my shift. It's called The Shift by Andrea Mowry. And it's the cowl that uses the spin cycle yarns, is the recommended yarn, but I'm using handspun. And I've done quite a bit since I last showed it to you. It's taken me longer to knit this than I thought it would. I thought it would be a really quick knit, and I'm not working on it sort of every day by any means. And I think the last time I was working on it, I worked on it for about 2 or 3 days, and then I put it back down again. And that seems to be my limit, because I think what it is I'm finding it a bit repetitive. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because I thought that, and then I thought, well, hang on, because normally I like patterns that are repetitive. Like in a sock, I love a 4-row a 4-row pattern repeat, and I love that. So it's not that I don't like things that are repetitive. I think it's because it's quite a long thing you've got to repeat. And I didn't realise that until I got into about section 3, because I'm literally just following it line by line, and I was just doing it, knitting along happily, and then it suddenly dawned on me. I thought, hang on a minute, this is exactly the same as what I've just done, except you switch the colours. I think once my brain recognised that I'd already done all this, and I'd still got to do all of those rows again another 2 or 3 times, it like put this mental block up, and I'm thinking, oh, done that, don't want to do it again, when it's a long repeat. But I thought, you're being silly, just get on with it, and you really want the item, it's looking really pretty. So I'm now into section 4, and I'm a good way in. I'm not far off finishing section 4. There's 7 sections and then the bind off. So I still feel like I've got a bit of a way to go. It's how your brain works, isn't it? Which is the wrong way to look at things. But, you know, you can't help it, I suppose. But look how lovely it looks now. Isn't this blue just gorgeous? Oh, when I hit that blue, that really motivated me to knit through a bit more, because I got the blue and then the purple. I just love, look at that, how lovely that looks.
Yeah.
It looks amazing, doesn't it?
It does.
The only thing that's slightly bothering me at the moment is, can you see my cast on here? Can you see how it's popping up? Look, it's curling up. I'm really hoping that blocks. I really hope it does. I'm sure it will, because I think that's the point that sits like here. So if that keeps flicking up like that, I think I'll find that a bit annoying. I'm sure it'll block. If you've knit this, can you just comment below and say, yes, it blocks out, don't worry about it.
Oh, no, it doesn't. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. I'll still carry on with it. It's fine. That's the only thing that's kind of bugging me, which is a very tiny thing, isn't it? I just love it. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it looks gorgeous in these yarns. The yarn really that's making it do this graduated, because I'm using 3 skeins of hand spun, but there's only one of them that's actually a sort of gradient of colours, and it's that one that's causing these different colours to come through, and I just think that looks lovely.
Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant, to be honest, that you've found this pattern and you've knit this, because I have a feeling that would never have been knit into anything.
No, I think you're probably right.
And, you know, sometimes it's the challenge we all face, isn't it? It's finding the right pattern for the right yarn.
Yeah.
And when you have a more sort of lovely, you know, hand-spun, high-quality product, you've got to find the right project to let it sing.
Absolutely, and this is definitely the right project. So the yarn that's kind of changing colours is this one. Isn't it lovely? This is the one from Susan Claudino. It's gorgeous that she spun for us. So that one is Rambouillet in the Pegasus colourway, and it was from Spun Right Round. Oh, and it's just lovely. It's gorgeous. So I'm about to move back into these warmer toned colours. And then one of the other ones is a fondant fibre from Deb, and this was spun by Deb, and it's a merino, bamboo and silk, and it's these gorgeous pinky lilac-y shades, and that one does graduate as well. It's just a subtler graduation. It's gorgeous. And then the third skein was from lovely Zena, who also spun it for us. And this is actually one of Deb's yarns, fondant fibre, or fibres I should say, not yarns, and it was in the Polaroid picture. And this is more of a sort of variegated tonally. Oh, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, all these sort of natural shades. And I would never have looked at these together like that and thought they would particularly go. But when they've knit up, I just think it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I really love it. I think it's beautiful. So I really just want to get it finished.
But you're a bit bored.
I'm a little bit bored.
And why do you think that is?
Because it's this long repeat.
Right.
It's like, you know...
So the colour changes aren't keeping you interested?
No, the colour changes are the thing that are keeping me going.
Right.
If I was just knitting this in 3 shades of like a solid yarn, I'm not sure that I would be motivated to carry on.
Yeah.
Because I think it's just, for me, I don't know, I often feel that when I've done something, I've done it, if you know what I mean. It's like I've worked through the repeat 3 or 4 times now, so I've done it, and I want to move on to something else. That probably sounds stupid, doesn't it? Maybe it's a short attention span. That's probably what it is. But I really want this item, and I think it looks fantastic, and it's something that I will really treasure.
Yeah.
Because of all the special yarns that are in there.
Yeah.
So every time I've been picking it up, like I said, I mean, it was way down here when I showed you last. It was just about here. So I've done all of this. So if each time I pick it up, I can do the same thing, then it'll be finished eventually, won't it? But I'm just not forcing myself to work on it.
And then it's seamed, isn't it, at the end?
Yeah, it's just a small seam.
Right.
just to make it go in the round like a cowl. It's kind of going to be like that, isn't it, in effect, but a bigger version.
Yeah. I think that it's the perfect pattern for lovely hand-spun yarns.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes you've probably got to bite the bullet and
I know it's difficult to you if you spin yourself, then you've probably got more of an abundance of hand spun and it's not so much of a thing. But we don't spin, but we do love to knit with hand spun. You do it particularly, don't you? And
yeah, I do, but I haven't done a lot.
You haven't done
recently
a lot
because
recently.
My focus now is most definitely more on the garments.
Garments, yeah.
So perhaps
it's unusual to have a hand because you need a big quantity, don't you, for a garment? You don't generally see huge quantities of the same colour of hand spun. You'd have to do it yourself, wouldn't you, to get that sort of quantity? But I think they just felt like such special skeins, and I sometimes think, I could do a hat, but then you'd have half the skein left, wouldn't you, and you don't know what to do with that. I think even though I'm going to have leftovers of each, there's probably going to be enough to make another one, I reckon.
Wow.
Then
one for me.
Well, you can knit it. I think you'd actually enjoy this pattern.
I think I'll wear the one you're going to knit. Yeah.
You probably will wear this. I don't think the colours are...
I'd totally wear it. Look at that.
Yeah, you would wear that.
It totally suits me.
Yeah,
I bet if I'd been wearing that dude wouldn't have come up to me and said, what are you doing?
And this uses it's done by slip stitches, so there's no stranded colour work at all. So if you've never done colour work but want to get that look, I would say this is a really good way to get into that. It's mosaic knitting, I believe, is the sort of technique. But all of the slip stitches are on the back. That's the back of it. And actually, I think the back looks really nice too.
Yeah.
And that's the front. And then you get all these little knobbly bits on the front. So it's lovely. And I'm using the recommended needles. Again, I'm using Higher Bamboo just because I just love them so much. I believe it's 3.75. I'm using whatever the pattern recommended and it's working out. Or 3.5. Oh, hang on. I can tell you. 3.75. I was right. So it will be done. I really want it done, but I'm just not forcing myself to do it because we don't need to do that, do we? There's no point forcing yourself. I'm just going to do it whenever I feel like.
Are those reindeers on that bag?
Oh yeah, look how cute. Well, the little mice reindeers and cats. My friend Sasha made me this bag. And actually I've got another bag up here that you can see, which is the same fabric that I bought from Jules at Christmas, So Sweet Violet. But this is a different colour. And Sasha, my friend, didn't even know that I'd got that bag. Yet she made me this one in pink. So she knows me very well. And I use all of these bags up here, apart from this one, are all from my friend Sasha. Because she just makes the best bags in the world. She doesn't sell at the moment, but she has in the past. And maybe she will in the future. So I love that bag, one of my favourites. There we go.
It's time for us to get in the kitchen. Time to make the most delicious thing in the history of the world ever. So just, look, stop everything. Go and get a pad and pen to make some notes. And get ready to learn how to make something which will amaze anyone who eats it.
Oh, it's fabulous.
Let's go.
Who's ready for some more baking? This season we'll share more of the tastes of our childhood, but with some modern twists we know our mums and grandmas would love. We're going to show you how to make 8 more delicious desserts. And at the end of the season you can vote for your favourite. Last year Millionaire's Shortbread was your winner. And we can't wait to see which pudding wins this year. So come and join me in the Bakery Bears Pudding Club. Ladies and gentlemen, to say I am excited about this one really would be an understatement. Today, you and I will make a pudding now considered a British classic by many culinary experts. This is sticky toffee pudding, drenched in delicious toffee sauce. Eaten with a scoop of vanilla ice cream, this is about as close to heaven on a plate as you can get. This rather lovely pudding appeared on the scene in the 1970s at the Sharrow Bay Country House Hotel on the shores of Ullswater in northwest England. The recipe was developed by chef Francis Coulson to provide warming comfort to weary walkers who often brave cold and bleak weather in their quest to climb the nearby mountain Helvellyn. But if ever there was a time when I have spoken too much, it is today. Because believe me when I tell you that this is utterly delicious. So let's get into the kitchen and get baking. Okay, so what are we going to need to make our delicious sticky toffee pudding? So first of all, we're going to need several different kinds of sugar. So starting with Demerara, and Demerara sugar we've used before, and it's the sugar that's got very sort of big crystals, and it's a brown sugar, so it's an unrefined cane sugar. That's Demerara. We're then going to need some dark brown soft sugar, muscovado it's called, in this country. I'm not sure if that's the same worldwide, but it's basically a dark brown soft sugar. We're then going to need some golden syrup, which we have definitely used before when we made our syrup sponge. And then the last kind of sugar is black treacle. Now, I've done a bit of research, and if you're in other countries, this might be called molasses. It's almost black in colour, very thick. So in this country, we call that black treacle. We're going to need 2 eggs, some vanilla extract. I'm using vanilla bean paste. Make sure it's really good quality. You don't want the vanilla essence, that's just nasty. You want proper vanilla extract. Some nice quality butter. I always use salted butter. I've said this before, but if you want to use unsalted, perfectly welcome to do that, but I just prefer salted. Some bicarbonate of soda. Dates, mine have come pre-chopped. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not, but they should be pitted, so you don't want to have the stones in the middle. It doesn't matter if they're whole or they can be chopped like this, totally fine either way. Some self-raising flour, and then some cream, which will be used when we make the toffee sauce. So what about our baking notions? Let's have a little look. We're going to need some kitchen weighing scales, a nice big mixing bowl, either a blender or I use this little mini sort of chopper, I think they're called, but it does blend things as well. So just something to blend basically. A electric mixer, I use a handheld, but if you've got a like a kitchen top mixer, that's fine. The last thing is just what we're going to actually bake our pudding in. Now you've got a couple of options. You could use these little mini metal mini molds. These are 3 inches. And if you're going to use these, you would probably need 8 of these. I've just got 4 here, but the quantity we're going to make will easily make 8 of these individual ones. You could, if you wanted, make 2 sort of medium-sized ones. These would each serve 4 people, I would say. So, and these are metal. These are all metal. It's like these, these old-fashioned tin basins. That's what these ones are, and these are about 5 inches across. Or what I'm actually going to use today is, again, this is metal, because metal conducts the heat the best, and for this particular pudding, metal is really the best material to bake it in. So I'm going to use this square metal tin which has got this kind of enamel glaze on it, which is very similar to the little pudding basins. But I'm going to use that today, and this is about 8 inches square, and it will serve about 8 people, I would say, definitely. So that's what I'm going to be using today. Okay, so let's get baking. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare the dates, because they need just a little bit of time to sort of brew, if you like. So I've got my 200 grams of dates. Mine, like I say, are already chopped. That's fine. If they're whole, that's also fine. Not a problem at all. So 200 grams of dates, and I'm going to pop those into 175 mils of water, which I've got heating in a saucepan. So all I'm going to do is put the dates into the water. Just give them a little swish around. And then I'm going to let that heat up to just when it starts to boil, and then turn it off and just leave that to one side. It'll keep warm while we get on and prepare the sort of sponge batter. Okay, so into my bowl, I'm going to first of all put 50 grams of butter. Now the butter I've had out of the fridge for quite some time. It needs to be nice and soft. You don't want it to be sort of hard from the fridge because we're going to beat this. So it needs to be soft. So I want 50 grams. Oh, 54, look at that. I'm going to take a bit away because you know I like to be accurate. So 50 grams of butter. And then into the butter, I'm going to add the Demerara sugar. So I'll just zero my scales. And we want 170 grams of the Demerara sugar. Just going to take a bit away because that was 172. There we go, 170 grams. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to beat those two together with the electric mixer. You won't get, because this is Demerara sugar and it's very granular, it won't cream as such because, you know, you've not got that very fine sugar. But we just want to mix this through till it's just nice and, you know, mixed together. So I'm going to get on and do that. So you can see it doesn't cream at all because it's, you know, it's such a granular sugar. But everything is now amalgamated. So what I'm going to do now is add in the other two sugars and the eggs. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to add in the golden syrup. So this is one of the sort of squeezy dispensers, which is much easier actually than the one that the black treacle's in. But what I've done to help it along is I've just had this tablespoon in some hot water, and that just helps sort of let it drop off the spoon and doesn't stick too much. Fingers crossed, might not work, but we'll try. So that's a tablespoon, and that does just come off easier when it's been in the hot water. But I've got a little spatula just to help me get the rest off. And now the black treacle. This is a very sticky business, but also fun, I think. And it reminds me of like bonfire night, black treacle. It's a fantastic substance. You can see how wonderful and glossy it is. So I've had my spoon back in that hot water. So I'm just gonna dunk the spoon in. I want 2 tablespoons of black treacle. So just kind of go in and just let that drip off until we've got like a flat tablespoon, and then if you quickly wind it like that, it'll stop it dripping. And then in and just scrape that off. That's 1. So we've got 2 tablespoons and not more than that. There you go. And that one in as well. So that's our syrup and treacle in there. And then we're also just going to pop in the vanilla extract. So about half a teaspoon, but I just do this by eye, to be honest. I just put a nice little blob in like that. And then the 2 eggs go in as well. And now we're just going to give that a good old mix. I'm just going to get my spatula in there and just pull all those bits into the middle and then give it another quick mix. So you can see now we've got this beautiful, toffee coloured mixture, which I suppose it should be really. So into this now I'm going to add the flour. So we want 200 grams of self-raising flour. Now I'm going to weigh this out in a separate bowl because we need to add this in like a few batches. We don't want to put it all in at once. So I'll weigh it out first of all into a separate bowl. So 200 grams, spot on. 200. And then add it in about three batches I tend to do. So about a third of that in there, and then back in with the mixer. And then in between adding in the flour, just give it a nice little wipe around with the spatula just to amalgamate those extra bits. And then add in another third. You don't have to sieve the flour. And then the last bit of flour going in. This will produce a very thick batter at this stage. That's as it should be, because we're going to add the date mixture into it, and that loosens everything off. But it will be very thick by the time you've got all of the flour in. I'm just going to give that one last little wipe around with the spatula. You can see just how thick that is. It's barely dropping off the spatula. That's exactly right at this stage. So one final little mix. Okay, that's our sponge batter made, but what we need to do now is deal with the dates. So this can just sit for a couple of minutes while we go back to the dates. And these have just been sat in that pan of hot water. They're still really hot. You can see the steam coming off. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to puree these. So I'm going to pop them into my little mini blender, and I'm going to whiz them up into a puree. And you want it still to be hot at this stage, so just be careful because it is hot. So, you know, just in case any of the liquid splashes up. Okay, so the next thing to do is we're going to add a teaspoon of the bicarbonate of soda into the hot date puree, and it's going to kind of fizz up a little bit. That's what it should be doing. So you want about a nice teaspoon, not, you know, just not flat, not huge, just a teaspoon into the date mixture, and then give that a nice mix. And that bicarb will start to sort of fizz. You probably can't see it, but it is fizzing up. There's lots of air going in there now because of the bicarb. So now I'm going to put that hot date mixture into our batter. And then just with a spatula or a spoon, just fold it in. Even if you're thinking, oh, I don't like dates, don't worry about it. You don't really taste dates as such in the finished pudding. They just add that chewiness and sweetness to it, and just lovely. And I don't know whether you can see, but what's happened now is the bicarbonate of soda is fizzing up, and the mixture has turned a much lighter colour. So just make sure that it's all fully folded through, go right down to the bottom. And this is now going to go in my prepared tin. What I've done with my tin is I've buttered it quite heavily. If you are using the pudding basins, then butter them and then just put a little coating of flour in them as well. But because I'm doing this in a square tray, we don't need to flour it, because we're not going to be sort of tipping it upside down effectively. This now all just goes straight into my tin. It's such a wonderful consistency. It's fantastic and smells amazing. Just give that a little encourage into the corners, and then this is going to go straight in the oven, preheated oven to 180 degrees C. And then for about 30 minutes you need to watch it, and it wants to be springy to the touch. So I'm going to pop that in, and I'll check it in about 25 minutes or so. Okay, so our delicious sticky toffee pudding is now in the oven. So we will see you in part 2, when we're going to be making the absolutely phenomenal and Dan's new favourite toffee sauce. And then we'll be getting our pudding out, pouring on some toffee sauce and giving it a try. So we'll see you back soon.
Well, yum. Oh my goodness. The first stage to your route to happiness is revealed. Trust me, it's rare I get excited about things, And this season so far, I've got excited about an awful lot of things because that lemon and polenta cake, yes, that lemon and polenta cake was just the most perfect thing. But what's so great about this cake is it's light.
It's really light.
It doesn't feel heavy. And, I enjoyed that about the lemon and polenta cake, but this really is like in a different league lighter. It's like air. Lighter than air.
It's the bicarb that you put in it.
Now, the best bit is yet to come because the sauce that goes with it is just mind-blowing. And what you could totally do is you could put some sea salt into it.
Oh, you could.
And you could make salted toffee sauce.
You could. Yeah.
And it'd just be,
And that sauce actually as well is just lovely over ice cream, isn't it?
Yes.
As a quick dessert, because it's so quick to make. That the toffee sauce is really quick to make.
To be fair, you could put that sauce over a lot of things.
You could.
And it would be absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah,
and what I love, would you believe, when I was young, I spent an awful lot of time making toffee.
Right.
I used to make cinder toffee.
And
used to make
it's tricky business, cinder toffee. Very tricky.
I remember over the Bain Marie thing,
Right.
but it had a special name. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, trying to get it just right because we didn't have a thermometer.
Right.
But then
it's very tricky without a thermometer.
Then I think we got a thermometer.
Because you burn it very easily.
It was still sometimes
burnt.
And what was so frustrating about it was sometimes it would look perfect. Everything would look perfect. You'd pour it out, but then it would still have that slightly burnt taste. So finding a sauce, as Kay's going to unveil to you very soon, which just alleviates all those problems, is blooming marvellous.
It's phenomenal. And if cold as well, if you put it in the fridge to sort of have the next day, you can reheat it, the sauce, no problem. We've done that.
Yeah.
But actually, it doesn't go completely solid. It's just really thick.
Yeah.
So I think you could actually just spoon it cold as well.
Yeah.
Onto things.
Yeah.
And
That would be interesting to try.
Yeah.
On ice cream.
I think on ice.
Yeah,
because you get that salted caramel sauce from Sainsbury's and you just put that cold on top of ice cream.
Yeah.
I think it would work really nicely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. So, tune in later on the show when we'll be making the toffee sauce and we'll be trying it. And the reaction, you already got a glimpse of it at the start of the show in the outtakes. The reaction is hilarious.
It's a good job it's not in the house a lot because I'd just eat it all and that's not a good thing, is it?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to find out.
Dan Jones?
Yes.
What's off your needles?
Well.
Because I have nothing.
But I have something. It is the Silver Dream Hufflepuff hat.
It looks amazing. I think all of the Hufflepuffs at Hogwarts would love one of these.
They absolutely would.
Look how amazing that looks.
Well, that's nice.
It's fantastic.
It's a great hat to knit. It really is great fun. I've knit two of them now, and sadly I suppose I could knit them as presents, but...
Oh, you could.
Yeah, because, how many nitty gift things did we do last year? Not a lot.
No, it was the year before we did loads.
So, potentially, could we have another half-handmade Christmas?
Maybe.
Maybe so, we'll wait and see. Because it is such fun to knit. And when you tailor-make it for someone, specifically here with the Hufflepuff colours, it makes it even more fun because you sort of see it all coming together. The only thing which always frustrates me about knitting in the round
is the jog.
Yeah, and is there anything that you can do
minimise the jog, yeah.
up here? Do you have to do something specific?
Yeah, yes, when you get to the point.
Right.
You can, there's various things you can do to minimise the jog.
Right, so every time you get to that point, you're doing something. Right.
But it doesn't. In something like that's a very busy pattern. I don't think you really notice it that much.
No, you probably don't. And the other thing is,
you can see it quite clearly from a distance.
It's at the back.
Yeah. Well, if you give it to someone who doesn't recognise that that's the back, where's the jog?
There. Well,
you see what I mean?
Go. It's on the back now.
That's the back?
Yeah.
Oh, it's there.
Yeah.
So the jog's on. Yes. So you can see it, can't you? You can see that jog. But once it's on your head and that's at the back, nobody sees that, do they? They're just going to see this loveliness. I'd put it on, but it's going to muck up my hair.
Yeah.
You could put it on. It probably fits you.
I'll muck up my hair.
Oh, get on.
Also, I don't want to stretch it for B.
Well, her head's
It's
quite
not as big as
large.
mine.
It's not as big as yours, no.
Neil, it's drops again, but
Yeah.
is it Charisma or Alaska?
No, it's still Charisma,
Oh,
right?
okay.
It's not Alaska.
Right. What did I knit that Drops Alaska? The Samantha.
Was Drops Alaska.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what? I did enjoy knitting that Samantha.
Yeah.
It was fun. And do you know what? I really also was challenged in a big way with up here. You know,
I helped you a little.
With the attaching the sleeves you did, but the 3 needle bind off I did.
Oh, you did that, yeah.
And, you know, that was really challenging for me. I've never done anything like that before. And it was the sort of quality challenge that you know you're right on the cusp of your capabilities, but, you know, when you achieve it and you get through it, it's just so rewarding. And I look forward, actually, to... I don't know what the situation is with the cascades at the top. You would think it's going to be something similar, wouldn't you?
Oh, I don't know. I've not read that far up.
No, I'm taking it, you know...
It's bottom up, isn't it?
So is the Samantha.
Oh, we'll have to have a... Well, no. Maybe we won't. I tend not to read forward in patterns because it can sometimes be a bit daunting.
Absolutely.
Can't it?
You know, this is a challenging pattern, and I'm all for, you know, look at the overall thing, you know, and then just get on with it and, you know, work at it stage by stage. Don't look too far forward. You get confused.
Yeah, I think
a
lot of people... I've heard a lot of people say you should read all the way through the pattern before you start it. And whilst I think that's a really good practice to get into, I also think that it can put you off knitting things sometimes, because you could read through it and think, oh my word, that's going to be really tricky, I don't think I could tackle that, and you don't try any, you know, you don't knit it at all. Whereas I think if you just get going and get knitting, when you get to that point it might not be quite so daunting because you've knit all the rest of it before.
I've never read through a pattern.
No, everybody's different, and I know some people do and some people don't. I tend not to. If I want to knit something, I just think, well,
just get on with it.
If I don't know how to do that thing when I get to it, I'll be able to find out. So
yeah, just go for it, you know. And then also it's a surprise. And now I'm sort of thinking,
yeah, you're not going to get bored, are you? Because you don't know what's coming next. Yeah. That's the other reason that I don't read forward.
In a way, I sort of hope it's a 3 needle bind off.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it was great fun doing that. But this is the lovely Silver Dream hat, and, you know, I've now knit 2, may knit another. It's really helped me in my progression with more complex colour work, because that was one of the things I really wanted to do this year. You know, obviously started with the top hat and then moved on to this one, and then doing the Clayoquot to get ready for it on the garment. And now, you know, we know what I'm doing next.
Do we?
Yeah, but I'm not going to show you this time. I'll talk about it next time. Yes.
Do I know about that?
Of course you do. This is finished, and there needs to be an obvious step up, because as we've already spoken about today, I'm very much into, you know, increasing that engine size, increasing that overall capability, so that then when you hit something like the steeking and the colour work and all that's going to come on that garment, because I've done much more challenging things, I'll be able to do that more easily. And what I've chosen to do is potentially a little bit too challenging, but we'll talk about that in episode 125. Look, I really want some toffee sauce.
Oh, so do I. There's some in the fridge.
We will show you how to make the most delicious toffee sauce.
Yes. Everybody, to part 2 of the pudding club. Now, our pudding is happily cooking away in the oven. It's probably got about another 15 minutes to go, I reckon. So we can now make our toffee sauce, which is the simplest of simplest things you could possibly make. I think toffee sauce can be quite tricky. I think there's a danger that you can burn it, but this method, you couldn't possibly burn it, and it's just so simple and quick and yummy. So let's have a look what we're going to do. Okay, so in my saucepan here, I've got 45 grams of butter and 45 grams of the dark brown muscovado sugar. So to the butter and sugar mixture, I'm going to add in a tablespoon of golden syrup again. So a nice tablespoon of the syrup. Okay. And then we're also going to add a tablespoon of black treacle. There we go, in it goes. Yummy. So to those ingredients, I'm going to add now 300 mils of double cream. So I know this was a 600 milliliter tub. I've used half of it, so I know that there's 300 mils left in there. So I'm just going to dump all of that in. So straight in. There we go. And now all you need to do is heat all that together. So pop the heat on and just give it a stir. And all of those sugars and the butter are all going to melt into the cream and produce our toffee sauce. And it's literally as simple as that. So we need to just keep an eye on this, just, you know, keep giving it a little stir. And once it reaches that kind of boiling point and everything is mixed in and amalgamated nicely, that's your sauce made, and you can just then keep it warm, ready to put onto your pudding. Keep your eye on it and just keep stirring it until the butter's melted and all those sugars have melted. It'll turn a beautiful toffee colour, because you don't want this to boil rapidly. We just want to bring it to that point where it starts to boil, and then you can turn the heat off. And it will stay hot actually for quite some time, and actually it will thicken a little. If you just let it cool just a little bit for sort of 10 minutes, it will thicken a little bit as well. And this will keep in the fridge if you don't use it all for like your first sitting of pudding. Just let it cool down completely, pop it into a bowl or a jug and just stick it in the fridge, and it will reheat really nicely in the microwave. We've already tried that, and you know, it's lovely the next day, so no problem at all with reheating. So I'm just going to keep stirring this until all of the ingredients are melted in and we've got a lovely glossy toffee sauce. So that's everything now is lovely and mixed into the sauce. You can see we've got this lovely glossy mixture, and I'm now just going to bring it to that point where it's just boiling, and then I'll turn it off, and that will stay hot for a little bit until our pudding is out of the oven. So there we go, that's just come up to the boil. I've turned it off and I'm just going to set that aside now. Our pudding's got about 10 minutes more in the oven, which is perfect timing. So our toffee sauce is all ready. It's going to stay hot. It'll be absolutely fine for 10 or 15 minutes. It'll stay lovely and warm. We're then going to take our pudding out of the oven, cut ourselves a lovely big chunk, toffee sauce all over, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to serve it with some vanilla ice cream. Now you can either use the ice cream that we made on the previous pudding club, so you can make it yourself, or you can just buy some really nice quality vanilla ice cream. So we're going to put all that together and we're going to give it a taste. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to give this a try now. It looks absolutely amazing, and I'm completely excited to try it. So we've got toffee sauce, we've got ice cream, we've got warm pudding. Oh my goodness, so let's try some. I've got high hopes. Are we ready? Oh my goodness. I'm honestly kind of speechless. Let me tell you, if you're feeling a bit down and you want something to perk you right up, this is amazing. I've got, out of everything I've made, and I'm not kidding now, this has got to be my favourite. It's absolutely phenomenal. The sponge has got that bit of a chewy edge to it. The toffee sauce is amazing, and then with a cold ice cream on top. If you want to astound your family and friends, and it's not difficult, I mean, you've seen me make it, it's really not difficult. This is the pudding. And this is also, I think, would be fantastic at Christmas if you don't like Christmas pudding. Brilliant alternative to Christmas pudding. So I'm now going to go off and consume the rest of this piece very happily. And we will see you next time for more Pudding Club.
Folks, we have given you the keys to the kingdom. Give that to anyone and they will love it. I always was sceptical about sticky toffee pudding.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you for why. It was the dates.
Oh, right.
I thought, I don't want that.
Maybe
That's going to taste weird.
But you don't taste the dates. You don't, do you?
No.
You don't taste the dates at all,
No.
but they're obviously there for a purpose, and that's what gives it that sticky sort of texture.
These ingredients all come together for the greater good. And, you know, what it creates is something unlike. This is the most similar feeling when you eat it to spotted dick, you know, with that sort of warming, amazing, comforting without you needing surgery afterwards because of the amount of
it's not heavy
stuff you've taken on board.
It's not heavy on your
honestly,
on your tummy.
I expected 4 or 5 hours after Kay gave me, you know, the first bit, I thought I'm going to have trouble here. Because as you know, I am a delicate wallflower. But no, nothing.
No.
You know, you can literally gorge yourself with this stuff and
I'm
feel
not sure
fine.
you could gorge yourself. I think that's probably...
Did you see the size of slice I had yesterday?
I did. It was quite a large piece he had yesterday.
I had to catch up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you were going to inhale all of it.
I know. Well, no, I didn't have any after my tea last night.
No, you just had it through the day.
Well, I had a piece after my lunch, cold, with a cup of tea.
But then didn't you also have another piece?
I might have had a little tiny slither last night when I was making a peppermint tea.
So I had catch up to do. It is...
Oh, it's so nice.
the best thing. I agree.
It's ridiculous.
Totally with Kay. And what excites me now about the future of this series is what other delights are we going to uncover? And it makes you... We all slip into a routine and we all think, I like this, I don't like that. Never tried that, not interested. Don't do it.
And Bryony loved it as well. Bryony ate it. That's always a great sign, you know.
The seal of approval.
Kids are fussy, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, the Pudding Club will be back in episode 126. And I'm already excited.
Gosh, yeah.
As to what you're going to make.
It's a tricky act to follow, that.
It is a tricky act to follow, but we've got a whole 4 weeks to make loads of these and to eat them.
I know, it's nearly all gone. I feel a bit kind of nervous because it's nearly all gone, that one that I made that you saw. So I'll have to make another.
If you love baking as much as we do, and some of you may know this already, but we have, would you believe, a special page on our website all about baking, which you can find and access right here. And also, please do remember that none of what you see would be possible without our Bakery Bears patrons.
Yes.
And if you would like to find out more about how you could become a patron and how you could empower us to do even greater new adventures and make even more delicious puddings, please have a read up there and then follow the link down there and you can find out all about how you can become a patron and how you can access more of what we do. Because what you see here is just the start of it.
Yeah.
But the tip of the iceberg.
It is.
Yes.
It is, absolutely.
So you know what that means. Next episode, New Adventures is back. And I sort of feel like the season's properly starting now.
Yeah.
It's like those first 2 episodes, I don't know, it was...
It's just warming you up.
It was just warming me up. And
can't remember where we're going next time.
I'm going to be, so overexcited that I'm going to need someone there to keep me under control. So yes, I will be joined.
Yes.
By my co-host.
I'm not going to be ill.
No.
No.
She did have such a horrendous cold last time. It just, it would have been disastrous.
Couldn't walk across the room, let alone up a mountain.
As much as you tried to come.
Unfortunately, I did. I was going to go, and I
said no.
I had a temperature, and I was shivery and hot and cold, and you were like, no, you can't go, and I was so upset.
So health willing...
I will be fine.
joined.
I'll be fine. I'm not ill very often, thankfully.
Of New Adventures, next episode. So episode 125, New Adventures, is back. Would you believe it's time for the Endy Bits?
Endy Bits.
Now then,
Believe it.
would you like to show some of the lovely things that you have there?
Yes, I have bought a couple of things. And the first thing I bought was a skein of yarn, and I've followed this yarn dye for a little bit, and then I saw this colourway and I loved the name of it and the colour is beautiful, so I thought I'm going to order a skein of that. So the dye is called Family Tree Yarns. You can see Family Tree Yarns, and the colourway name is Just Breathe. And that just, you know, I think all of us, I think, need to do that, don't we?
Yeah.
No, you know what I mean, though.
Yes.
You just sometimes need to take that breath, don't you? And just go, oh, right, let's just have a minute. And it just made me think of that, really. And I just loved the thought and how that, you know, that thought evoked. So I thought I'm going to have a skein of that. And it's a 80-20. It's one of my favourite bases for socks. 80 superwash merino, 20 nylon, 365 metres. And it's this gorgeous, gosh, what shade of green would you call that? Spearmint, maybe. I'm just thinking from yarn dye colours. It looks like a spearmint sort of colour. But then it's got speckles of purple and gold and a bit of sort of rusty red and a darker green. It just looks lovely. So I'm hoping this will knit up in such a way that it won't, you know, if I knit socks, I'm not going to have one more speckled than the other. I've had a bit of an issue lately I've bought a couple of skeins to knit for socks, and I think I've mentioned this before, and when I've sort of looked at the skein, I've thought to myself, it looks like one half of that is going to be more speckled than the other. So it has kind of, I'll be honest, it has kind of put me off buying yarns, because I'm just a bit cautious. I'm like, gosh, you know, is that going to happen with that skein? Because I always want to have the option of knitting socks, because, you know, I love knitting socks, and that's sometimes quite often why I buy the yarn in particular. So fingers crossed this one won't do that. I don't know yet, obviously. And it came with a little mini skein as well, which I always appreciate. It's in my pile of minis back there, so lovely. So I've got that one to play with. And then I was ordering a skein of yarn from Loop in London. I'd run out of yarn, I needed another skein, and this particular colour of the yarn I was using I could only find at Loop. And I wouldn't normally have bought the yarn from Loop because they are more expensive. I think it's, compared to other shops that sell the same yarn, it was a commercial yarn, it was, I think, £3 a skein more expensive. But I needed that particular colour, I really wanted that particular colour. So I ordered it from Loop, and this thing flashed up that they'd got a new batch of La Bien-Aimée in. And I've never used her yarn, not knowingly anyway. I mean, I suppose I might have had some in a mini from someone, but not knowingly, I've never bought any of it. Very pretty yarn. But they'd had this shipment in, and they'd got full skeins of some yarn, but they'd also got some minis in. Now, the full skeins were again, very expensive, but they had some minis. And I thought, oh, right, okay, I'll have a look at the minis. They won't be as expensive. And they weren't as expensive, but a mini skein, 20 gram mini skein, is £10. And I nearly dropped off the floor actually when I saw that. Do you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to give it a go, and I'm going to order a mini skein because I've never had any of their yarn. So I did. I got a mini skein. So it's La Bien-Aimée, and this colour is Fiori, Fiori. I'm probably saying that wrong. And it is lovely. It's like a grey base, and it's got these peach, can you see, peachy tones. And it's a 20 gram mini, and it's the single ply merino, so there's 80 metres. So I then thought, oh yeah, I'm going to wind that straight away, and I'm going to knit it into my bits and bobs. And I went to take this off, and it won't move. And I realised it's been stapled, and I realised that the yarn has been stapled into it because this wouldn't move. And I gave this quite a pull. I won't do it again, obviously.
Have you ever seen that before?
No. I mean, I've seen yarns that have used staples before, but I've never had it stapled into the actual thing.
Look at.
And so I was a bit, I'm going to be honest, I was disappointed with that because I paid £10 for this mini skein. If you were to buy 5 of these, you know, you're thinking, oh yeah, I want to put some of those into a project, it would cost you £50. I have no words for that cost, if I'm honest.
Look, I don't think there's any problem sometimes in paying a premium for something which is exceptional. But hold on a minute, I don't know, and I've not opened as many skeins of yarn as you have, but I think that's unbelievable.
That happened. And I've had yarn from dyers that use staples.
Is stapled in to the tag.
Yeah, it's stapled in. I'm sure, you know, I'll take the staple out, and it has snagged the yarn a little bit. I can see it's a bit more fluffy down there, but I'm sure it'll be perfectly usable, and that's fine. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to feed this back to Loop, because I wouldn't never normally do that. I don't know, I'm not very brave doing things like that. But I thought, yeah, I'm gonna feed it back, because I think it's
important they know.
It's important that they know, and because obviously they haven't dyed this yarn, they've imported it from France, from the dyer. But I think as a quality control, they should know that, and then they can
look out for it.
Check their other minis and make sure that they're not sending out minis to people that are like that. So I contacted them, I sent them an email.
Because it clearly is a rare occurrence.
It must be a rare occurrence. I contacted them by email, and they did reply back to me very apologetic and said that it can sometimes happen when yarn dyers use staples, but it should be totally fine to knit with, you know, and that's fine. And they did say they would check their other minis, so that's great, and that's what I wanted. You know, I wanted them to know that had happened, and that I was disappointed really that I'd paid such a lot of money for a mini, and it kind of took away a little bit that joy of having it. So I will now take the staple out, and what I'm actually going to do, and I've got some more minis coming today, is I thought it would be fun to do a review of some mini skeins. I've got 2 more brands of mini skeins coming. Hopefully they'll be here today. And then what I'm going to do is I will do a sort of little review of them all, so I'll compare the prices, the packaging, the service, all those kinds of things, how, you know, the dye techniques, what it looks like, you know, what I think about it just in the mini. And then I'm going to wind them up, and I'm going to knit them into my bits and bobs, and then I'll go back for a second part review just to let everyone know what I think once I've knit them into my blanket. And
that'll be published in the usual way, so you can look out for that coming really soon. It'll be on either a Tuesday or a Thursday, as we normally do, and you can access all Kay's reviews from the website, and I'll link the page below. It's really simple. It's just www.bakerybears.com/reviews.
And as you can see, I love minis. I've got loads of them back there. I tend to collect them, tend to hoard them. But I think that'd just be interesting to do, and fun as well. So that's that one. And then, in the same vein, the mini sort of theme is I bought these from Kelly at Lay Family Yarns. She put up a post that she'd dyed up all these sets of minis because Mina, Knitting Expat, is doing a collection based on mini skeins. So she's done a series of designs in a collection. I think it's called Minilicious. And they all incorporate mini skeins. And Kelly has sort of linked up with Mina and asked her if she could dye up mini sets for people to buy to knit one or more of the designs with. And I saw these minis. Oh my word, I need to have those. So I quickly ordered some when they came up in the shop. And this is the set that I got. Oh my goodness, look at that. These are the pastel set. And she did one that was more earth tone. And there was one that was brighter as well, I think. I think there was 3. Was there 3, Kelly? I can't remember now. But gosh, they're just lovely. And these are 10 grams, and there's 12 of them. So 120 grams altogether. Aren't they just the prettiest things? Can you imagine socks in those? Oh my goodness, that'd be so nice. And that's what I might end up using them for. Or I might just knit them all into blankets. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I won't do anything with them immediately because I just like looking at them. I'm terrible. I've got a load more from Kelly back there that she gave me, and I can't bring myself to use them because they're so pretty. I'm awful with minis. I just want to look at them. But they're absolutely gorgeous. Love them. We've sort of hinted a couple of times on the last couple of episodes that I've been working on a big design project, and that is now coming to the end. I've actually completed all of the designs, all of the knitting, and then I'll actually be talking about the collection on the next episode, and it will be launching. The pre-orders will be launching on the next episode, so I will tell you all about what I've been doing for the past 7 months of my life with this. So I'm really excited. I'm really nervous. I can't quite believe that I've almost finished it. That's the sort of feeling, because I've been working on it so long, haven't I? It's been in testing for a little bit now, and all the test knitters have been amazing. You know, we've had a little test knitting crew from our lovely patrons, and they've all been fantastic, you know. And I've got one tester in particular who has knit every single design, which, I mean, that's just amazing, isn't it? And she knows who she is, and she's amazing. Getting a bit emotional, so I won't talk about her anymore. But yeah, so that will be launching on the next episode. So I'm going to tell you all about it. So get ready. I'm really, really nervous too.
So that's it.
Yes.
Lots though going on. Kay's finished her Ultimate Sock Tutorial series now. The whole 6-part series is available to watch. Next week we'll be publishing our second Quest for the Perfect Slice of Cake, where we'll be visiting the very exciting French patisserie Robineau, which we spoke about in a past episode. So we've got high hopes for that one. Hopefully we'll be trying some amazing cake. The latest issue of Knitability is finally out. You can follow the link in the show notes, and you can download the issue and read the wonderful interview with Hohe that Kay did, and also with Stitch Mischief, the wonderful Jade Prosser, and just tons of great things in
an amazing article from you.
Yeah, we're into it.
Well, why shouldn't we talk about it? You know, he's written this article. Dan's a brilliant writer, and he would never admit to that, but you are a brilliant writer. And he's written this article, and you read part of it out to me last night. And you read it to Bryony as well, and Bryony thought it was amazing. And you read it to me, and it was just brilliant. So I know you will enjoy that article. And
just a bit embarrassed because I started crying.
Well, it just got really emotional reading it, because it was just bringing up memories from when he was a child. And
I realised some things about me.
Yeah.
And it was just quite surprising, because I'd not really thought about it.
But it was it's beautifully written, and you are a great writer, and you should carry on with that book at some point.
Yeah, crumbs. Yeah. I've written 20,000 words of a book.
Yeah.
But you know, it takes so much out of you doing things like that.
Yeah.
And I've also we developed an idea for another book, which is really cool. Which, you know, one day. I'd love to have the time to invest in it, to really, because to do it properly, you've got to really emotionally invest yourself into something like that.
Yeah,
you know, just writing that article, you know, you've got to focus so much to really, you know. We
both write articles for the magazine, and you are much better at it than me. I really struggle with it, and I think it's because it is hard to sometimes put down into words and express yourself in words, isn't it?
Yeah.
I find that really difficult. But
whereas I actually find it easier to express myself in words than I do in person.
Yeah, and I think I'm the opposite. I never would have thought that of myself, because I just never would. I don't think I would think that I'm a particularly expressive person when I'm talking, but obviously, yeah.
If you want to find out all about our magazine Knitability, there's 19 issues now. Just follow the link below and you'll be taken straight to the page on our website. And I think that is it.
That's it.
So, thank you so much for watching. Come back in 2 weeks for episode 125 with a brand new adventure.
Yeah.
And you don't want to miss what Kay's going to be talking about.
No.
So, without further ado, we're going to wish you adieu. Oh, that sounded like a song.
It did. It sounded like the one from Sound of Music.
Yes.
Oh, I want to watch that now.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone.
Have a great 2 weeks, everyone.
Hope you love our Room of Requirement, and we'll be back here in 2 weeks. It. Yes, we'll be back here in 2 weeks to see you some more. See you again. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you then.
See you soon, everyone. Bye.
Sitting and knitting, it's Dan and Kay, the bakery players. Enthusiasm's not quitting for Dan and Kay, the bakery players. They'll take you to fabulous places of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern, get yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle while watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery bears. What's on your shelf or what's in your oven, or maybe a show you'll want to